is EDNOS. EDNOS is a abbreviation for eating disorders not otherwise specified. It's a term used when a person shows all the signs of an eating disorder, shows signs of eating disorders, but they don't meet all the diagnosed criteria of having an eating disorder, like anorexia or bulimia or binge eating. For example, a person could show all the psychological signs of anorexia and be losing weight but still be menstruating and not yet underweight for their height. Eating disorder complications, death, heart problems, multiple organ failure, depression, suicidal thoughts or behavior, absence of menstruation, bone loss, stomach growth, digestive problems, kidney damage, severe tooth decay, and high and low blood pressure. The process of starvation associated with anorexia nervosa can affect most organ systems. Physical signs and symptoms include, but are not limited to, constipation, abnormally low heart rate, abdominal distress, dryness of skin, hypertension, fine body hair, lack of menstrual periods. Anorexia causes anemia, cardiovascular problems, changes in brain structure, osteoporosis, and kidney dysfunction. Self-induced vomiting can lead to swelling of salivary glands, electrolyte and mineral disturbances, and enamel erosion in teeth. Laxative abuse can lead to long-lasting disruptions of normal bowel functioning. Complications such as tearing of the esophagus, rupturing the stomach, and developing life-threatening irregularities of the heart rhythm may also result. All diseases that pertain to the gastrointestinal tract are labeled as digestive diseases. These include diseases of the esophagus, stomach, large intestine, sigmoid colon, and rectum. The human gastrointestinal tract is the stomach and intestines, sometimes including all the structures from the mouth to the anus. And then we have video. No, just maybe click next to the play. Do you want us to play the videos?
Mm-hmm.
They take a while.
That's fine. Because you have to have a minimum of 20 minutes, right?
Right.
How long have we been on?
About 5.
That's really?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I need to put in some fillers.
Oh my God. Okay.
So the Maudsley team believe the AVP switch in the anorexics may be faulty, so that the individual is locked into a system of repeated chronic stress.
This has made me think very differently about patients now. You're a bit stressed, your heart's racing a bit, you can only think about what's happening here and now, and it's quite an uncomfortable way of feeling. And to think that they feel like that day in, day out, must be absolutely unbearable.
And what happens if there is extra stress? Rachel is now at Cambridge and is finding it difficult to cope.
I could see what was happening, but I just couldn't sort of get back to what I knew I should be eating and to sort of get back on safe ground again. I'm eating very little now. We're talking about 100 calories, maybe slightly more, slightly less.
In the last 24 hours, Rachel has eaten half an apple. This level of starvation can cause irreversible physical damage.
Most systems of the body are involved with starvation in anorexia nervosa. The ones we're particularly concerned about are the ones that don't seem to be as reversibles, because so many, once you replace nutrition, the whole thing gets back to normal. And the systems that we worry about that aren't totally reversible, perhaps, are the brain.
The Maudsley team are studying the brains of anorexics. Stress hormones affect a tiny area in the middle of the brain called the hippocampus, which moderates the hormone cascade. It seems to be damaged by the long-term excess of stress hormones. And so the loss of appetite gets even more out of control.
There is indeed damage to the hippocampus, ironically as a result of the high levels of cortisol that these patients experienced for prolonged periods of time that ultimately shrinks the hippocampus, and so they get stuck in this vicious circle, which fits very much with our experience of treating people with anorexia. We know that very often it's a chronic condition with frequent relapse despite extensive efforts to get people to gain weight.
I did feel so positive a few months ago, and so I feel as though I've let myself down very badly. But I'm also angry with myself for letting down other people, especially my family. And I'm angry as well, I suppose, in the sense that I feel almost as though I've been tricked by the anorexia, because I didn't realise that I'd got myself into such a mess again until it was too late. It surprised me almost. I thought that everything was okay and that I'd be able to get back and just put back the bit of weight that I'd lost and that would be fine. And then before I realised I was in a situation where I couldn't do that.
Perhaps giving AVP to the sufferers could kickstart the drive to eat and break the vicious circle.
It's just a flush.
The team at the Maudsley are just beginning to wonder if that could happen. Their first experiments are underway. They are testing the hormone circuitry by injecting stress hormones and measuring the AVP response. There are no answers yet.
Now, if we conceptualise this as being an abnormal response to chronic stress, then one of the important things we can do in psychotherapy is help patients to cope better with the chronic stresses that they will inevitably encounter in life. And by doing so, we hope that we can ameliorate, make better some of the biological aspects of the stress response that blunt their appetite and cause them to become ill.
For patients like Betsy, therapy is currently the only option, and it's only successful for some people.
I am still sick. I'm in weekly therapy. I attend a support group. I'm followed very, very closely by my family physician. I know I can't do it on my own, and I'm actively seeking the help. Before, I would have just kind of succumbed to the disease and let it take over. But this time, I feel as though I have a fighting chance. But it's going to take a long time. It won't happen overnight. This will probably be a lifetime struggle for me.
The new scientific discoveries being made by centres in the USA and the UK might one day revolutionise the kind of treatment available, and could bring us closer to preventing the distress that anorexia and bulimia bring to so many.
So what's going to be the challenge for us as, I think, in this next generation is begin to understand in some way the complexities of behavior, the interactions of environment and biology.
But for many anorexics, therapy can be difficult to respond to.
Every single one of those choirs.
Anorexia is so much part of me. I just can't imagine living without it, or what it would be like to live without it. I do feel quite scared at the moment, because I do feel quite ill. I'm scared that, I don't know, that part of me might sort of stop working, and that might happen without warning. But although I'm scared, I still don't think that I 100% believe that that could happen. But I do want help. I just can't do it on my own.
Heartbreaking choices for the medics in African ER next Tuesday at the same time. And with drama next on BBC Grind, the hairdressing wars hotting up in Cutting It.
she pushes away. And they rise in the morning, and they sleep in the dark. And even though nobody's looking, she's falling apart. She gets home from school too early and closes the door to her room. There's nothing inside her. She's weak and she's tired of feeling like this. And they rise in the morning, and they sleep in the dark. And even though nobody's looking, she's falling apart. They call her for dinner. She makes up a reason. She looks at her arms and she rolls down her sleeves, and her mother started to see through her lies. And last night her father had tears in his eyes. And they rise in the morning, and they sleep in the dark. And even though nobody's looking, she's falling apart.
Oh, yeah, I downloaded it. And then the next one should be